The following video is going to cover a topic that I honestly hoped I would never have to talk about again, at least from personal experience. However, it is a video like this that helped me get my own start on YouTube. By publishing a video similar to this, I was finally able to start putting out content. Those of you who've read the title obviously know why we're here. But for those of you who still may be unaware, my first ever video on this channel was me discussing the issue of trade scamming and how I had been scammed out of a Counter-Strike knife. Well, once again, I am returning here to talk about another experience that I've had being scammed. While I had initially hoped with the video back in 2016 to get a form of justice by publishing the video and hoping that someone would pay attention and get Valve involved or something, this situation occurred 2 years ago, back in April of 2020. So my objective here is not to get justice, because at this point I believe that that is not going to happen. However, just like the previous video I made in this saga, this is overall, first and foremost, a warning to all of you to be careful and just to get into a specific type of scam that I had not heard of and that completely caught me blindsided and ultimately swindled me out of a lot of items. So without further ado, let me break this down. Our story begins back in April of 2020. April the 13th, to be exact. It was a Monday, and there wasn't really much going on. Just like many other colleges around the country, when the virus hit, the school that I attend shut down, and all classes went asynchronous. Nobody published any recordings or lectures or required us to attend any online sessions because Zoom wasn't being used at least as often or by my professors. So while a couple professors did publish lectures a couple times a week, there was no mandatory class time. You would do your assignments by regularly assigned due dates, but it would be on your own time frame. It wouldn't be by a specific class period because there were no class periods anymore. Why do I bring this up? Well, I was home. I was working on an essay for my world history class, and I was about a page or two in and decided that I wanted a quick break. So during the break, I watched a few YouTube videos, and I had some Steam funds remaining since I had a birthday a month prior and still had some funds left, and so I wanted to see if there was anything good on sale. Well, while browsing Steam, I received a message from a quote friend of mine. This wasn't really a person I knew particularly well. However, I thought I recognized him from a CSGO match I played earlier in the month. So my radar was a bit down, and also it had been quite some time since anything strange had happened. Anyway, I receive a message, open up a chat window, and he is asking if I can join into a TF2 tournament that afternoon. Well, while I was taking a break for the moment, I knew that I still had some work I did need to get done, and that participating in a massive tournament probably wouldn't be the wisest idea when it came to getting my schoolwork done. So I respectfully declined. But the feller told me that there was another way I could assist his team. He told me of some site that would allow me to vote for his team and show my support for their endeavor. And at the very least I thought, well, since I'm not going to be able to play, it's the very least I can do is just to vote and show that I'm thinking about this person and their squad and the tournament they're about to enter into and whatnot, so why not vote for this person, right? Why not vote for their team and show some support to this person who was kind enough to reach out and invite me to play in it at last minute notice. But I clicked on a link he sent me to it looked like a pretty official site. It was a site claiming to be a tournament organizer for TF2, CSGO, Dota, and a few other games. And in order to vote, I was able to find his, quote, team while browsing through the site. But in order to vote, I needed to make an account. In order to make an account, I needed to connect Steam to this site. You see in the red flags here? I did a bit too late. I logged in as usual because, again, usually these sort of things, it doesn't bring up a Steam login window unless it's somewhat legit normally, at least in my experience. Other sites that I've used in the past, like Steam Rep, when I'm trying to sign in, have used Steam login type of a deal. And those sites are pretty trustworthy, so I assumed, naively, that the same principle would apply here. So I signed in with Steam, and then it brought up an authenticator window, as is per usual. But the strange thing is, I never received a code. For those of you who don't know, usually when you sign in on Steam to a new device or a new browser, new website, or whatever type of a deal, it'll send either your email or the Steam app on your phone if you have Steam Guard set up. It'll send out a code that you need to put in, but it never sent me a code on my email or on the app. So I was entirely in the dark. I just assumed there was a problem with it and messaged the person saying, hey, I'm sorry, but I can't get into the site because Steam Authenticator is being weird. I got no response. I just assumed that he was ignoring me and whatever, moved on my day, did some work. While I was working on my essay again, I get a message from another friend who I hadn't talked to in a while, and it was cool to hear from the person because, again, I hadn't heard from him in a while, so I got kind of excited, like, oh, it's this friend. But it was a message saying that he was busy and wouldn't be able to participate today. And then I got some really annoyed sounding texts from him being like, I told you I can't participate today. I don't have time. I'll look into it when I have the chance. And obviously I was very confused. Well, I opened up the window and I apparently had sent him some messages asking him if he wanted to join into a TF2 tournament that afternoon. And then when he declined, I quote, spam messaged him about voting online for my team. Sound familiar? Yeah, the feller was in my account. And had not only messaged this one person, but soon after I was getting messages from a bunch of people with similar type results, which I immediately responded saying, this isn't me, I believe my account may have been compromised. Thankfully, most if not all people I responded to were able to catch on to that because the person was using very broken English. And that's not normally my deal. I'm not the best when it comes to grammar, but I at the very least can double check spelling and whatnot. And there was a bunch of typos and whatnot, which was not really my deal. So thankfully, people were able to discern that that wasn't me. But I hadn't even thought of checking my inventory. I just thought, this is weird. Someone got into my account and is now messaging people about the same bloody tournament. Which also had me confused and worried that potentially the person who contacted me may have had the same sort of deal going on. They too may have been hit by some scammer, hacker, what have you. So that's also part of the reason why I'm not seeking out justice, because I don't know how far this goes. This could be another person impacted by the same person who has been messaging all these accounts. But in any case, I changed my Steam password, got the authenticator working again, and then moved on with my day. Later in the evening, I texted my friend group about the circumstance. And one of my friends is like, hey, did you lose any items? Again, that hadn't even crossed my mind. I went to check my Steam inventory, and sure enough, everything was missing. At the very least, all my Steam items, including Steam emojis, profile backgrounds, trading cards, that sort of thing. All those were gone. My inventory for TF2 was also gone. My inventory for Dota 2 was also gone. However, CSGO, PUBG, and a few others remained intact and untouched. Mostly because I didn't really have much of anything in my CSGO inventory at the time. And the other items I had were pretty lackluster and probably wouldn't be worth much. But the damage had been done. I was able to go onto Steam and look through my trading history to trace back what happened, and I was able to find some sketchy trade with some bot account for all of the stuff I was missing. I, of course, reported the bot. I was devastated, though. But there was nothing else I could really do. At this point, my items are gone. It's been thrown into some bot account that's going to just spread everything online. Nothing I would be able to do would be able to get my stuff back at that point. But that was that. I had to rebuild my TF2 inventory once again from the ground up. And honestly, it kind of killed my desire to play the game. I know it sounds sort of vain that I didn't want to play a game because my cosmetic items got wiped. But believe me, when you've spent years accumulating items, years playing the game, assembling dream loadouts and setups and cosmetic combinations, and then having all of that stripped from you at once, it's a bit demoralizing. And while I've built some of my inventory back since then, I just haven't really had the desire to go as overboard as I once had, or try to collect as much as I once did, because honestly, my motivation for it is gone. But this was entirely new. I had had plenty of attempted scams before and since that last video on this, all of which I was able to see that it was a scam and avoid it. I would purposefully try to avoid situations where I could be put into that position again. I tried my darndest to just keep my nose clean and just stay out of the way of people and whatnot. And again, I'm conflicted on whether or not I should even blame the person who contacted me in the first place, because that person could very well be just as compromised as I was. Where, just like my account was being used to send out more messages, this person's account could have also been just spamming messages. I did play Counter-Strike with the person earlier that month, and they seemed like a pretty chill person, that they weren't like this. So odds are that their account was also hit. So it seems like I was just an unfortunate link on a farther expanding chain that connected who knows how many accounts. But what's the lesson here? What's the takeaway? Because this sort of thing is far different to just talk about than the past two, because with the past two videos on this topic, there was a clear motive here. There's a clear moral to the story of just being careful who you trust. And I guess that motive can still apply because you still don't know who's been compromised or whatnot. But whereas in the past two attempts, it was someone with malicious intent trying to get into my stuff, one case succeeding, the other case being ignored. But both of those previous experiences were people with malicious intent. Whereas this one, I'm still conflicted on who's at fault here. Because, again, I could just be another link on this expansive chain of potentially dozens of accounts. So I can't even point fingers at the person who contacted me because, well, I don't know if they've been impacted. I'd say, well, wouldn't they have tried to reach out as well and say, hey, this isn't me? Maybe. Or maybe they were busy that day. Maybe their account was hit. They were away or something on Steam. And weren't actually there until the deed was done. In any case, this one is far more difficult to give a solid, moral to the story. I guess the big one is be incredibly careful with the sites that seem legit enough to be either correlated to Steam or at the very least just be safe to enter your Steam info, because you never know what's going to go on. I am still a little confused on how they got in. But whatever the case, they got in lickety-split, seamless. I was still actively in my account when they were in my account, which is honestly kind of freaky. But whatever the case, this was a rough experience. I guess the overall motive is, again, just to be careful with those online, because you just never know what's going to happen. Again, I try to make this point in the last one of these, just saying that I'm not sure when I say this sort of thing, I'm not trying to say trust nobody or that online friends or people you meet online are always malicious or that they're always out to get your stuff, because they're not. I've made plenty of amazing friends online over Steam games and whatnot who have just been great people. But just like with any relationship, whether it be over the phone, over internet, or in person, trust is built. And when you're making friends online, make sure that you can truly trust whoever it is you are reaching out to or being reached out from. Because, again, hackers and scammers are definitely a thing, and they will stop at nothing to rob you of your possessions. I don't have an exact number of how much money I technically lost as a result of this scam. If I had to assume, it would at least be over $100 US. I'm leaning towards 150, maybe 200 at most. I had some solid items and they were worth a fair bit. And as such, that probably painted a large target on it. But what can you do? It all just kind of happened really fast. But at the very least, while I may not have a solid ending moral for this story, I guess the big takeaway here is to just be careful. And I hope at the very least that this video put this type of scam on your radar so that you do not make the same mistakes that I did. Because I was devastated, and I wouldn't want anybody else to have to go through that confusion, that shock. And I know in the whole scheme of life, right? Losing Steam items, it's inconvenient, it sucks, but it's not the end of the world. And that there are far worse things out there. I get that. But it is still a horrible experience that I wouldn't want anybody else to have to go through. So at the very least, I hope that this video provided a solid example of what to look out for and some potential preventative measures you could take to prevent that from happening to you. Like just being more cautious with the people you meet or ensuring that your Steam account is properly defended with all the required defense mechanisms like Steam Guard, Steam Authenticator, that sort of thing. And then have backup plans for your backup plans. Again, the advice here should never be the whole trust no one thing, because I don't believe that. But just a simple, once again, be careful. Because you just never know who's out there and what they intend to do. In any case, folks, I hope you were able to take something out of this video, get something out of this video, and can hopefully apply this advice into your own experiences on Steam or elsewhere. Because I know scammers don't just exist on Steam, they exist everywhere. So again, it's just healthy to be careful. Don't close yourself off from everybody, but just be cautious. In any case, folks, thank you for tuning in. And as always, Maxusthebeast is out.